afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. Welcome to today's Powerboost. So today, our topic is don't fight the darkness, turn on the light. Don't fight the darkness, turn on the light. And where I want to start with this is to remind you that for every problem, there is a spiritual solution. For every problem, there's a spiritual solution. And so what that means in a larger sense is that the outcome is assured, but also it is accomplished with ease because the method that you're using moves you away from what we term as conflict resolution, and it really becomes a different approach because you're not engaging the conflict. You are offering an alternative. And if you think about any situation, any crisis where there is a lot of disagreement and misunderstanding and argument and demonstrations and all the things that go with fighting for change, what we find happening is that all of our focus is on we might say, the dynamics of the problem. And that is what is meant by fighting the darkness. So the alternative is that instead of making those who you are opposed to wrong or having issues with the solution or the method that they're presenting to make things better, instead, you move in the direction of what you see is the alternative, so that you are not making anyone wrong, and as a consequence, making yourself right, which causes even more opposition. You are just presenting an alternative, in many cases, your own actions, your own behavior, your own plans that points in a different direction. So you're not engaging them in a conflict of ideas, but rather you're showing the way forward as an alternative. In this way, what is happening is that you are gently presenting a method and a solution at the same time. So I want to take this meditation today in that direction. If you can, in the moments we have together right now, think of a situation that you are faced with, that you're having difficulty resolving. And that may include other people, maybe an organization, maybe a neighborhood, maybe a family. Just bring that situation to mind right now. And what you should be seeing is all of the challenges that you are facing, dealing with it. And so move your thoughts in a different direction towards the alternative that you think, you see, would resolve it and have the outcome that you desire. What you're actually doing is taking the resources that you have been spending in opposition and instead using those resources towards the solution. In other words, rather than being in opposition, you are simply presenting a different way forward. So no one is being made wrong. One of the best examples we have of that came from Mother Teresa. She was asked to join the march against the war. And in fact, she was actually criticized for not doing so and why she was not doing so. And I remember what she said. She said, "I will not march against the war, but I will march for peace." And so that is the meaning that we're giving when we say, don't fight the darkness, turn on the light. And in every situation that you're faced with, there is that opportunity. There is always the chance for you to move the battle from without to within. It is always a battle that you have to win with yourself, because you can only change you. That's where you have all the power. That's where the real power is. The alternative choice that you have to make, the compromise that you have to make, the perspective about the situation that you have to change, which you never have to force on anyone, but you can make those changes yourself. Because when you change, the world changes. And so, as with everything else that we are doing here at the Meditation Center and having you take a very close look at, it is about turning inward and becoming, as we say, self-sovereign, being able to manage all of your emotions, especially anger and all of the other emotions that attend anger, which are all negative. And so that is having you in the dark. And so by turning on the light, you're turning inward and changing your own direction and garnering all of those forces that would bring others to this cause. You know, we can fight the polluters and point out all the things that they're doing wrong. Or we can put together a coalition of environmentally friendly folks who will, by their behavior, show the alternative and the benefits to come therefrom. We can fight with all of the advocates of conflict, or we can generate the kind of relationships that is harmonious and would bring out the best in ourselves and the best in others. These are very contagious behavior. In fact, all behavior is contagious. And so when you look at any situation, as I am asking that you do right now, stop for a moment and look again at what it is that you are putting so much of your resources into resolving. And it doesn't matter how big that problem is. For every problem, there is a spiritual solution. Even if it's a personal one. Sometimes we end up fighting with ourselves and we make ourselves wrong. So you don't want to be in that condition. There is no outcome that will be satisfactory if you are forcing that outcome, if you are making those whom you oppose the problem rather than dealing with the problem itself. Remember, one of the things that we do, we become our opinions. And so when you oppose someone's opinion, even though this should not be the case, unfortunately, they take that opposition personally. They don't have that detachment from the perspective that will allow them to see it as the perspective, not as something that they would or shouldn't take personally. So the best way to deal with that is not by confrontation. It's by showing the different path that will lead to a solution that benefits everyone. And so let's take that in today. Let's stop fighting the darkness and let's turn on the light. All of the demonstrations notwithstanding, we're still left with the conflict and we are still left with two sides or three sides, or sometimes even more. So the right solution will create one side, will create oneness, and not at the expense of good relations, especially good relations with yourself. And so today and every day, make the effort to move away from that automatic reflex action where you are pushing back against the forces that you see as opposed to what you think is right. And by demonstration and by example, continue to gather those forces of harmony, those forces of peace, those forces of love. And you start within and gently guide others along with you. And every day you'll have an opportunity to do that in the very small, simple matters, as well as the ones that are causing wars today between nations. As you might have heard, wars, all wars, begin in the hearts and minds of us. And so let's resolve it within and demonstrate that without. So that is the way all of your resources can be used towards empowerment instead of being used towards conflict. Om Shanti.